Welcome to TouchLine. I'm your host, Anthony Totera. Once again, here in the OSA studios, I am joined by the president of the OYSL, Bert Lobo. Bert, thanks for joining us on TouchLine.
No problems, Anthony. It's always a pleasure. I know you're a great supporter of the OYSL and soccer in general, so pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And you are a great supporter. You've put in a ton of community hours and a ton of hours all over this province in soccer, and we thank you. Many people out there thank you. Bert, the weather's getting better. Kickoff's getting closer and closer. Tell us about when opening weekend is.
Well, the enthusiasm certainly is there. Obviously, teams have been training, getting ready for what's coming up. May 14th, 15th is our opening weekend. It's traditional that we've been running that for about 8 years. This is actually our 18th season. Good stuff that is going to happen this year. Hopefully every team that participates will reach their goals, whatever that may be from the start of the season, but every team basically plays one game opening weekend, and that'll be held in Mississauga at the turf fields, and we're all looking forward to that.
This is great. Now, Bert, tell the viewers out there, what is your day-to-day duties at the OYSL? Is it overseeing the whole office? Is it overseeing all the teams? What is your day-to-day duties?
Day-to-day duties vary, again, by day. It's the general administration, ensuring that everything is taken care of, whether it be schedules, anything like that, referee issues, etc. Whatever comes into the league, I have to be the one, I guess, front line, other than the administrator that would be taking the calls, etc., or emails, usually pass through to me depending on the response that's needed. I accordingly then would contact the rest of the executive or the various individuals that are part of the executive committee, be it for discipline, be it for referee issues, whether it's a treasury issue, someone needed a refund for whatever reason, or what might happen like that. But that's basically it. I have to be the one that sees everything that's happening and make sure it's run as well as we can do it. All 8 members are all volunteers on the executive committee, but it's a job that we have to do.
And it's a job that they want to do, and they do it with passion and with love. And I know a lot of them, Gerry Gentile, the list goes on and on. Yep. We just had Ed Cole. These are good people that want to give back and help out. Talk a little bit about Bert. This is a huge league. This is a big league. If I'm not mistaken, it's probably the biggest league in all of Canada, with the amount of players in there, the amount of clubs.
Well, absolutely, and again, it's the top of the pyramid of play here in Ontario. We consider it to be the top in Canada. We obviously, through the league, are able to provide the players for the provincial program, for the national program, and so it is at the top that we consider it to be. It's something that players strive for. Parents, of course, push their kids, and that rightfully so, trying to show them the better way of life. And hopefully the OYSL is able to provide what these players want. And from there, hopefully move on, as I said, provincial, national programs, scholarships, and so forth that are forthcoming from being a participant in the OYSL.
It is the creme de la creme, let's be honest, of play for these kids at their ages and their level. Because let's be honest, Bert, when they're playing in OYSL, then you've got Ontario Cup. These teams are battling each other and tooth and nail for every inch of field and every situation they got. And then once they get to nationals, these poor Ontario teams are beaten up, and a lot of times they don't have any energy or any juice left because they've just, the toughest and the most important province in this country, have battled it out. Talk about that.
Absolutely. It's a dog-eat-dog world basically out there. Every game's a tough one. And if you're going to be successful, whether it's from development or so forth, and obviously, success is measured by where you are in the standings, moving forward into the Ontario Cup, going to the Nationals at 14, 16, now 17, etc. Teams want to do well. It's a way of showcasing, and what they're looking for when they're playing in the OYSL is advancement through soccer, be it, as I said before, education, scholarships, professional opportunities. The OYSL, with its name throughout North America, is well known for providing top players opportunities, and hopefully this year, 2011, won't be any different. In fact, hoping for a banner year.
I mean, you look at the under-20s, the men's national team, the women's national team, a lot of different levels nationally and provincially. A lot of these players come from the OYSL. This is fantastic. This is great. Talk about your technical director. Tell us his name and what is his day-to-day duties. What is he doing exactly at the OYSL?
Well, yes, gentleman's name is Fedor. He just came to us, he actually came to Canada a year ago. Played in the Romanian First Division, played Champions League. Has a lot of experience, UEFA coach. So what we brought him on basically at the outset last summer was to be our technical director, head coach for our ID teams that we put together through Gerry Gentile. What we're doing with the league is promoting education. We want players to get an education, whether it's stay here in Canada. We're working closely with the OUA and CIS. Stay in Canada, of course. You know, we're working with U.S. colleges because a lot of the players aspire to play in the U.S. and that has traditionally been the situation. When you say scholarships, you think you're going to the U.S. Obviously now with the change in funding that's available here in Canada, we're also trying to promote stay in Canada. Staying in Canada, the players are around, helps the programs, enhances our own local development, be it the provincial programs, be it the national team, semi-pros, that we have here. So the whole opportunity is here, and it all starts from the OYSL. I mean, you look at some of the graduates from the OYSL. Currently, of course, here in Toronto, we've got Julian de Guzman, played here. You look back, and even though he's not playing for Canada, but Jonathan de Guzman, at under 18, was ranked in the top 10 in the world. Played in the OYSL. Look at,
A lot of players have come out of the OYSL.
Absolutely.
But the word that you mentioned that I really love is education, and that is the most important word you mentioned in this conversation, where I tell parents a lot of times, let your kids dream. If they have a dream to get to Europe or to get to MLS and play at that level, great. But think realistically that if they can grab a scholarship in Canada or in the U.S., that is the pot of gold that they should be going for, correct or not?
Absolutely, and in fact, this is the opening statements for those that have attended. And this past year, I think we've had close to 4,000 attend Gerry Gentile's presentations. His opening comments are about the way of life and what you can benefit through soccer, but into your education. Education is all important. Soccer is important, but education is the utmost.
Yeah,
and that's key for life.
Absolutely. Too many people, you mentioned Gerry Gentile, keep asking me, Anthony, there's got to be something behind the scenes with this guy. He's got to be doing it for other motives. It can't be just giving back. I'm going to tell you right now, it's all untrue. Gerry Gentile does it for the love of the game and to give back and to help out. As he said to me, Anthony, on my radio show, is to keep kids off the street, to help them, to guide them, and to watch out for the pitfalls. Talk about a guy like Gerry who continuously gives back and still does it from the bottom of his heart.
Gerry absolutely does that. Financially, he doesn't need it. He's a millionaire in business, won many awards through the business community. He's actually also recipient of the President's Award for Canada.
Wow.
For the CSA. So, he's been there, done that. And from this aspect, his kids have grown up. I think he's got one son that's playing under 17, 18 this year, so he's still working with him. His daughter is now playing university. He's helped umpteen kids, hundreds of kids in education by attaining scholarships of all levels here in Canada, in the U.S. So that was one of the reasons why we brought Gerry on 2 years ago, was to expand on that. Gerry's our Director of Communication, and he's doing a great job.
He sure
great
is.
job. Actually, this year he was the recipient of the OYSL President's Award as well. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to receive it. We still have to present it to him. He was participating in our showcase event, and of course, instead of being there, even though he knew that, he wanted to be with the kids.
That's Gerry.
That's Gerry.
That's Gerry. Well deserved. But talk about Bert as well. There's a lot of people in the office that don't get enough recognition. They do a lot of time and give back to the teams and in the office atmosphere that people don't see or hear about. Talk about some of the hidden gems, the jewels that are in that office at the OYSL that are doing a lot as well.
Well, we have a new administrator this year, Deneen Stevanato. Appreciate her being there. It's a tough position because she's got to deal with coaches that have a lot of experience. She's just joined us, graduated through scholarship, university in the States, sports management program, doing a great job for us, putting everything together. The whole key comes down to being able to deal with the coaches and managers and some of their temperaments and requests, and trying to not circumvent the rules, but play along the rules, but see what they can do. The worst part, or the toughest, at the coaches meeting, which is on April 16th.
Where's it being held at?
It's being held at the Delta Hotel in Markham. And
what do you discuss there? What goes on there? Is it just an information session, or can coaches actually go there and say, Bert, I have a concern about this that happened last year, or Bert, I have a concern about going forward in this situation? Is there an open information session the coaches can ask questions?
We allow that if it's necessary. It depends when the question comes forth. Is this involving everyone, or is it a particular situation?
Good point.
Most of the times we get inquiries about how it affects their team, how it affects their situation, which in that case we're not going to deal with it in front of everyone. Not everyone wants to spend the time doing that. If it pertains to everyone, we'll discuss it. If not, see us after, and we'll see what we can do.
Great points. Bert, let's talk about some of these teams that are participating in the OYSL. They're coming from all parts of the province. And a lot of these teams are traveling and playing games on Friday and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday, whether from the Ottawa area, Northern Ontario, Southern Ontario, wherever it might be. So again, we're so blessed and lucky here in the GTA because, you know, an hour we might be complaining that it's too far, but think about North Bay. They're coming, you know, on a weekly basis. Think about teams in the Ottawa area. Think about teams maybe in Windsor. All over, they're coming. How do you help some of these teams and clubs because their demands on travel, there's so much on them? Is there some way that the OSL is helping them out with the travel?
Not, and when you say that, you know, as far as financially, unfortunately, we don't have that in the budget. It isn't something that's been set up. What we try and do is work with scheduling to help them as much as possible. Obviously, the parents are spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
Travel, you know, accommodations, etc. Some of the teams that come in want to play once on the weekend, and others will say, if we're coming in, we'll play Saturday, play Sunday. So what we'll try and do is allow them to come in, play, stay overnight, play again, and still get home on a Sunday at a reasonable time.
But I want to stop you there, Bert, because then it's hard, because that team is at a disadvantage. Let's say North Bay, for example, are coming to play games back-to-back, Saturday and Sunday. You know, they're traveling here, their legs are tired mentally, physically, maybe school is still, you know, at the tail end. It's demanding on them. Maybe we're not going to see the real team from up north or the real team from the Ottawa area play against the GTA team that is here practicing, playing, sleeping in their own beds. That's got to be hard. It
is hard. You know, just the trip, coming, sleeping in their, you know, different bed, etc. You know, eating in restaurants. So it becomes a situation that's difficult for them. We find that for the most part, they seem to do well. The issue is always trying to make it better for them, and it's tough. Ontario is a big province, and geographically we are the provincial league. We have to try and help them. We try and work with scheduling, as I said. We try and work with the Sunday games so that, yes, they're home by a reasonable time, dinner time, and get ready. May, June, they're still in school. September, they're still playing, still in school. We try and help them out, but it is very difficult.
Yeah, the commitment is huge, Bert, because you know what, these parents give up every weekend. Then can you imagine coming from, again, all over the province to the GTA every other weekend? I mean, they can't even make plans because their son or daughter is playing almost every weekend here in the GTA. It's a massive, massive commitment.
It's a tribute to the parents and the players and the coaching staff and the clubs that participate. I know we get some clubs that come from, you know, the further areas. You refer to the greater GTA and the clubs that participate. It's relatively straightforward for them. But, you know, this is the way of life, unfortunately, here in Ontario, and we have to try and accommodate them as best we can. Doesn't always work, but then again, it's always a difficult situation. Can't please everyone, as the saying goes. So we try and work with them, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it's inconsistent as far as that goes.
Now, Bert, the OYSL, the competition is fierce, as we said. It's top-line competition. Are we getting the top-line fields out there for these clubs? Do you go out and inspect fields before the teams play all over the province? Do we have someone that goes out to do this, or are we just going it on the basis of the club has got the permit, they're playing at this field, and that's it? Because, again, it is top-line competition. You want good fields. Unfortunately,
that's a great failing in the league, is the availability of fields. When you say top fields, we do get some areas, you know, without getting into actually mentioning them. Some have great facilities, great fields, and others, I wouldn't refer to them as cow pastures, you know, that's going a little extreme, but they're not suitable. It's difficult, though.
Yeah, but then what are the good areas doing, Bert, that the other areas aren't, that they can help out with? What should they do? Whatever that area might be that's stepping up to the plate, that's got great fields, why isn't this area doing it then?
It's usually teams that we have coming in from smaller communities, smaller clubs. You know, you look at Mississauga, which has 6 turf fields. So turf seems to be the way to go as far as maintaining a consistent field quality. When you get to some of the smaller areas, they just don't have the financial support from the cities or their towns. And a lot of parks and rec, you know, they're strapped for finances, which makes it difficult. And sometimes fields are the last that they look after.
Sad.
There's so
very upsetting and sad.
It is. I mean, it's something that we have in our rules, that you have to provide suitable. But what's suitable? You know,
we live in the greatest province, in the greatest country in the world, and we should have the best fields for our kids to play. Not just in soccer, but in every sport.
Absolutely.
We're blessed in this province and in this country. I remember going my kids to the Belleville area, and their fields were pristine, perfect, like a carpet. And it should be like that in every part of the province. But having said that, talk about your relationship with the OSA. We're here at the OSA Center. Has the relationship grown? Is there still things that you and the OSA have to work on to get on that same page?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I've been around now for 8 years, just completing 8 years as president, and we've seen changes for the good, and some changes not positive. But obviously, that's the way life is. Life is about choices and changes, and it's been tough. We try and work together. Unfortunately, there's a lot of red tape that's involved. And so sometimes processes are tardy, and it just becomes difficult. But, you know, we're trying to provide in the OYSL as best we can. Just like in OSA, they're trying to provide as best they can too. But somewhere we need to be able to work together. You mentioned fields. You know, it's something that perhaps that OSA can get involved in. I know the topic's been brought up numerous times, but then again, their hands are tied as well. Turn to the league, our hands are tied in some of those
but
things.
I hear that, Bert, and I'm sorry to interrupt, I hear that, but we're taxpayers. Your clubs, your teams in the OYSL have parents that pay a ton of money in taxes, like you, like me. We are taxpayers. We need to speak to our members of parliament. We need to speak to our city councillors to say, look, we need better fields. Do I not?
No, absolutely, absolutely. It is something that parents, as you said, as taxpayers, they're the front line. They should be out there, and it becomes a process too, because obviously OYSL, we started under 14, go to under 18. It takes time. Bureaucratic red tape, as I said. So you start at 15, 16. By the time you're finished or try and get something resolved, as you know, it's a few years that process takes. And some will turn around and say, by 16, our fields aren't good. Let's try and do something. How many years is that going to take before it hits the city, the town, the parks, etc., to do it? And unfortunately, you get a little apathy, or just, there's so many things that are involved in life. As I said, soccer is everything, but it isn't everything.
I agree.
You know, in life choices.
I agree,
so,
but you know what? There should be some companies out there, some big companies. We don't have to name them, but they know who they are out there. And if they're watching this, maybe they need to step up to the plate and help refurbish a field, or help take care of some of the fields that are really in bad shape in the GTA, in the smaller communities, so these kids can stay healthy, fit, and play the game they love.
Absolutely. You know, when you say it's not even the small communities here in the city of Toronto.
Horrible fields, I'm sorry to say.
I was
horrible
say
fields.
terrible.
I'll say it.
Like just
I've seen it with
pathetic,
my own eyes.
Pathetic.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I mentioned before the consistency of playing on a turf field seems to be the way to go. Together with the fact, you know, our weather conditions lend itself more to having turf fields. Finances are high to put together a turf field or to construct, but even still, in the long run, the municipalities, I think, would be would benefit more by, instead of every couple of years spending X amount of thousands of dollars, put it in and see what they can do.
But I'll tell you,
we're definitely deficient in quality fields.
I agree with that, but I'll tell you one thing, just closing off on this issue, is Mayor Ford, the new mayor of the City of Toronto. I know that he's very acceptable to picking up and listening to the concerns of the people in the GTA about fields, and I know that for a fact. I had him on my radio show, and he said anyone that had any concerns, if a field is in bad shape or whatever, pick up the phone and call him, and you know, they'll do whatever they can do within their means. So at least he's stepping up to the plate and listening to the parents. Bert, before we let you go, very quickly, talk about the tournament that is no longer called the Toronto Cup. What is it called, and when is it being held?
Oh, that's Toronto Cup now has moved to the city of Mississauga as Mississauga Canadian Cup, and hopefully, again, thanks to the city of Mississauga, thanks to the Dixie Soccer Club for helping out as well, and hopefully we'll continue the tradition that was started a number of years ago, and looking forward to that July 1, 2, 3 in the city of Mississauga. So
great work. Well, Bert, thanks to you, the tireless work that you do. You always return my emails. You always return the phone calls. I've heard from a ton of parents that they tell me, you know what, Bert at least returns my calls and my emails. Great work. Keep it up, the passion. You and all the staff at the OYSL, the top league in this country. Don't ever forget it. Thanks again.
Anthony, a pleasure. You know, it's for the kids, and that's what we're here for, and that's the key, and that's the mission of the OYSL. So
that is Bert Lobo, President of the OYSL. Never sleeps, always on his BlackBerry, always on his email, always returning the calls. Thanks again for joining us here on Touchline.